Racism comes into the spotlight at a two-day conference which starts today. The event, arranged by the Anti-Racism Network South Africa, will bring together thought leaders and stakeholders to discuss the resurgence of racism globally and to explore ways to deal with it. Joining us now, Executive Director of the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation, Nishan Balton. Nishan, good morning.
Good morning.
And thanks for coming through. Where do you even begin? I see the theme here is pathways to anti-racism, and just looking at what we've experienced over the past couple of years, many incidents. We can go back to Penny Sparrow, Vicky Momberg, Adam Katsavelos, the guy on the beach, and up until this week, Pick n Pay and those mugs. We seem to be getting worse, not even trying to work on this issue.
No, but we start off on the other side. Take any one of those incidents and look at the speed of retraction, the speed of public outrage, the speed of public sanction is unprecedented. I think we have become less tolerant of racism. Whilst there are many more racists, I think there are huge sections of society also who have become less tolerant of that kind of behavior and attitudes. So I think that that's the positives where we are today. However, I don't think it's the same for what's happening across the globe.
Just looking at who you are going to be including in your discussions, you say you're going to explore themes around the rise of right-wing racism, like you say, globally, and then you're including sectors of society, including businesses and schools, and focus on building anti-racism capacity in organizations. What are the conversations you're wanting to have with them?
Well, the overall context of this is that South Africa's capacity, anti-racism capacity, is minimal. We have very few research, training, interventions, mediating institutions to actually deal with issues of racism. Yeah. And that's why this conference today is to explore the different pathways into various sectors of society where racism is prevalent and where we need to start building dedicated capacity. So in the workplace and in business is one, for example. And in that context, we're using the H&M as a case study on how to intervene in a particular situation and how to, in fact, perhaps emerge with a best practice model. That'll be the one thing. We also have a session on building inclusive schools. The work of Professor Jansen and others in the Cape is emerging as a possible model in this regard. What this conference will open with is with an organization highly respected in the UK, Show Racism, the Red Card, to share their work, but to also share perspectives on the rise of right-wing racism all across Europe and across the world. Because I think that is perhaps one of the biggest challenges that democracy faces today globally.
Now, Nishan, I guess overt racism is easy to deal with because you can see what you're dealing with, but we also have cases of that subtle, hidden racism that may manifest itself in many ways. Like if you're black, you phone an estate agent, you are looking to get in an apartment block, and then they talk, it's available, or you're booking a holiday, and we've seen those cases in South Africa, and then suddenly you tell them your surname, then suddenly there's a change. Oh, I thought it was available, it's not available. Anti-racism pathways when you deal with that kind of thing. I mean, what's your view on that?
Now, I think what we need to be able to build is society's capacity to act when they're faced with situations like that. And fortunately, we will be demonstrating the anti-racism reporting app that we developed in the course of this year. And this conference will be a further opportunity to test it, to get feedback from all of the participating organizations towards an intention to actually roll this out next year, March. And then we're looking at other technology websites and besides just the app itself that will enable any victim or witness to be able to take action and not be silent. And that's really the key thing in this case. So if it's an estate agent, we need to be able to understand who's the regulatory body, what can be done, and who can do it on their behalf. And lastly, across the country is building support capacities through legal networks and other networks so that individuals are not left on their own. But we would emphasize that there must be some degree of agency by people who experience these kinds of situations. If you don't fight the fight, nobody's going to fight it for you.
And Nishan, I'm very curious to know if you're going to be addressing or looking at what we've seen recently as black-on-black racism. We've seen, certain businessmen in court calling each other racist terms, using the K words, a certain N word. The discussion is, can black people use that certain N word, but others not use it against them? Is that something that you might be discussing?
Not in a specific way, but the conference does conclude with an important discussion which includes this, which is what do we do with people who have been found to be guilty of racism? Is prison the only option? And we have an academic who has developed a range of thoughts on this matter, which we're presenting to all political parties this afternoon to start that kind of engagement. Yeah. Because while prison and jail time is important, the kind of possible rehabilitation measures is not what we have been talking about. And it's in that context, whether it's black on black or black on white and so forth, I think we would cover it within that broad umbrella.
Okay, interesting. Thank you very much. We'd love to know the outcomes of the discussions over the next few days. That's Nishan Balton, Director of the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation. Thank